Hello, hello, hello. What the fuck? I got a new follow from Emma Romy. Interesting. Never. That's weird. What did I do? What did I do to the shit? Seems like a real person. Which is interesting. Anyway, we're playing Stardial and Genshin first. And then Minecraft, like usual. And that usual it's only been one day, so take that as you will. And I think anyway, I need to update my model, my avatar, my Ilra, whatever, cause that is sucking. Na 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 na. And some all the time I cannot realize if you are mine. The time I've been doing this for a while now, I don't need you. This far, I can never certainly understand what you could mean. It was something much more. Where's the shit? Where's the shit, dude? There should be something here. What's happening? Is it bug, dude? No. Why is this scary? I don't like scary shit. Do you hear the sound it makes? It's because I'm in MOC. Don't worry about it. I'm just testing my team, my archer team, to be exact. I mean, I can recycle, but I didn't that time. So yeah. Anyway, not like it mattering anyway. Not like it matter. Anyway, let's do the usual. Damn it. Wondering if I could be time when you are really part of me. I'm just wondering.
My strength isn't what it was. Earth shatters, heaven trembles.
Can you find the answer? Feeling spiffy?
Soaring above the lands, this is permanent!
Best of luck! An explosive start!
I'll endure.
That omen. Don't thank me. Stars favor us.
Ah, yeah.
Can you find the answer?
Whatever.
Kraken, rise! Soaring
What's
above the
happening in
land.
this thing?
This is permanence!
Happening in Stardal, I mean. Nothing exciting. I'm just auto battling. Like, there's not much to it.
Observe the heavens with my divination.
Anyway, I'm really thinking about something
An
now.
explosive start.
Let me see.
A bad omen. Don't thank me.
What? No, that's crazy. What? I think no.
An explosive start.
that's
Observe the
crazy.
heavens with my divination. A bad omen. Don't thank me. Best of luck. An explosive start. Clouds have scattered. A bad omen. Don't thank me. Best of luck. An explosive start. Observe the heavens with my divinations.
I mean, I was so much silent. I was doing
Don't thank
something
me.
off screen, so I can't do much there.
Soaring above the lands. This is permanence!
Can you find the answer?
Can you find the answer? Oh, okay. It's almost done. It's good that it's almost done. Yeah. Don't move. Wait, 40 stock? Do you see this? How come? How come, dude? Interesting. Yep,
Best of luck.
get destroyed.
Explosive start.
40. Oh my god, that is so little damage. Guess that's why she's a support and not a damage dealer. Probably right. Anyway, I need this for Sparksy if I get her, which is exciting. I'm thinking about it. Oh my god, that's pretty great. Sucks. This bit I get did I get to? This one is no, which is okay. And this one is Tosh. I'm sorry for the accent, but I'm just kinda bored, so I'm doing shit. Anyway, come on, let me click escape. You fucking bitch. It's not, wait, it's not connected anymore. So I've been like excited this whole time. It won't connect. Like what? Hello? Come on. This. Okay, it connected. So yeah. Foxy, please give me your blazing. I won. Balls. I love balls. Literally balls. Come on, why this is locked? Okay, we're done. We're donezo. OMG, look who's not coming home. Wait, I need to do something. That like just reminded me that I need to do this. Yeah, let's go. Alphage Elecol Exploder. And I need to do this too. Wait, I can super math simple. Wait, I have two DDR5 to DDS5. Let's go. I have two of them now, which is amazing. I have three actually. Never mind what I said. I have three. It's crazy. In this economy, dude, no way. And yeah. Well done, so. I need a fourth DDS5, dude. I need a fourth one. I'm greedy like that. Anyway, it's Genshin time. Interesting. Wait, is it not up yet? Is the game not up yet? I didn't check actually. Is the game not up? Let's see if it is the case. I mean, it should be up now. I'm thinking anyway. I'm thinking about it. Oh my god. Okay, it's fine. Where's the capture though? I don't see it. Which is kinda where is it, dude? Come on now. I know you're there. Just show me the way. I mean, just show it to me, dude. What is this, dude? Oh my god. Come on. Okay. I don't know why this one didn't work, but whatever. Okay, it works now. Come on. Wait. Okay. I thought it was gone for a moment, but no. It is all fine. Fine and down there. This is my long-term encounter point reset it. I hate if that happened. If it happened, I'm actually not gonna say that because it's crazy actually. I mean, it will take long though, so let me talk for a bit. So I don't know what to talk about. It's crazy, you know, it's crazy. Sometime you would be for me, and you would see this part of being a wonderful being. I could not understand if you're part of my world. I could not honestly understand what you mean. Where's my long-term encounter point? Where do I check that? How much can I grab? Oh my god. How am I full already?
Time to go.
What bullshit is this? What method of crap is this? Wait, did it not reset yet? Is it tomorrow? Or when? When is it resetting? When Farka coming home? When Farka come? Can't speak. When is Farka? That's what I mean. Let's get Noblesse. Noblesse. Not that one. We did this one. This one is Noblesse. And I'm not loud enough. I need help. Maybe 13 would. Okay, test.
Downpour certainly rouses the
that's pretty.
dry your clothes as soon as.
I don't know actually. Is that good or what? Let's just start. Yeah.
Shower me with praise! Time to shine!
Stand with me!
It,
Out of my way!
Commit it to memory. This may hurt a little. Make yourselves at home.
Wind strike!
dun, 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 dun. Interesting.
Commit it to memory.
Strike a pose!
It
As one with wind and cloud!
has one with wings and clouds.
This may hurt a little.
Right.
Dissipate!
Please be faster. I cannot do this no longer.
I'll settle this!
Commit it to memory. Grow. Yoo-hoo!
Into the wind! Fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Dum 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 dum. I am the fire of doom and gloom. Yeah. Two more, I think. And then we're playing Minecraft. Yeah. Exciting.
Commit it to memory. This may hurt a little.
It's just ridiculous, I swear.
Clouds high. The bird
Start high.
Out of my way!
Out of my way. Done. When is Farga though? When is Farga? And where do we get here? Where are we going?
Stand with me!
Grow.
Chocolate blue.
fallen leaves, adorn my night!
Yep, that's over. Boy. That is so over. No way. No way I'm speaking like this. Like, I just checked my other stream to last night. I mean today, last night. I think it's last night actually. But I sound terrible. Dude. I sound terrible, and I have no voice at all.
It's a nice day, but I
Like,
can't seem to shake this strange feeling.
I have no voice. I sound terrible. It's wonderful, dude. It's terrific.
Dissipate!
It's crazy. Anyway, I'm checking this one after though to see if it's alright or shitty. I didn't get it. How people like my voice is so underwater even if I put it up there. Like sometimes it's clipping now, but literally nothing I can do about it. Cause I'm not loud enough apparently, for me at least. Like my sound, my voice is just it's just eternally under the water. Under the water. Whatever I'm trying to speak to. Anyway, we're done. After this, after checking this shit. What the fuck? When is this? When are you? When is that? When is that? Wait. When is it? When is this? Come on. Come on. Eliastra Wonderland. Forever mate. Bye bye. Anyway, Minecraft is this. Let's go. Okay. Let's go, it's me, Mario. You hear me? You hear me, guys? It's me, Mario. Hmm. Um. Interesting. Hmm. That's right. Ah, get back up, I guess. Interesting. I think I'm modifying something for a while. I mean, for some time. I mean, after this, I'm modifying something in the config, so I will be AFK for a bit. AFK, I mean, off screen. But I forgot. Idiot. Forgot I was there. I mean, it was lagging, so I have no choice but to exit. But I'm dead anyway. Like, hello? Or... But is it lagging? No, please, no. No? Really nothing. There is nothing that Minecraft, no. Let me pause. No, and then this is... Yeah. Wait. Why is this here? No, that's not what I want. Cool. Anyway, what am I doing? I think I'm doing something. I don't know what, but I'm doing something. I'm doing something. You hear? I am doing something. I am doing something. I'm doing something. I'm doing something. Okay, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing something right now. Exciting, isn't it? Anyway, where am I going to place this? Temporarily here, maybe. That's great. Level 3, idiot. Level 3 too? Oh my god. This is kinda whatever, dude. Level 3 too? What do you mean level 3? Can I change this? Let me see. Ah. Oh. Oh. It. As I said. Oh, I can't change it. It's cozy. True. I can't change setting of which. It's ridiculous actually. I need lobbies. And I need maybe. Only 3 the shit. How you make this? What that? Okay, I know how to make it. I'm literate. Maybe, probably. Anyway. I can't do the fuck. I need level 3. Bunny Hop. The fuck? Level 8. Oh, level 8. Low wisdom. Low wisdom. Ah. Conflict. I see. Is enough wisdom for you, dude? I'm asking nicely. No, it's not. Wait, I can get protection. What? Protection 4, okay. Only? No. Conflict. How to get wisdom though? Level 8? Really? You kid, right? You kid, right? What do you mean level 8, dude? I need unfail. I think there's something about unfail, dude. There's something about unfail. I don't know what it is, but give me that. So where is it? Unfail? I can craft it here. But I have not enough iron. I don't have enough iron. What the hell? Yes, I'm going to the nether anyway. Where did I put them? Oh, here. Let me guess. What is that log? Interesting. Right. Oh my god. It's lucky. Basically not attacking, but weird. Anyway, that's the plane that killed me though. I think that is one, right? What is this? What is attacking me? Hey. What the fuck? Ah, that scared me. Anyway, I need gold. Bastard again, dude? Catch it? No. Catch it? Nice. Bastard Delta again, dude. I hate this place so much, dude. Why do I always spawn here? Like literally. Let me get that. Let me get there. I'm so mad actually. How do you make this though? Wait, what is this? There's something here? Or is there nothing? Interesting. Quite interesting, I think. Wait, I don't want to do this myself. So let me set this. What is called? Found portal. Oh, that should be. And I think I should just clear this up. I mean, I can make it prettier later. So let's not worry about that. Make this nice though. I need gold. I need ender pearl. That's what I want right now. So clear this up. Clear that out, clear that out. Okay. Clear this out. Destroy. We're going there. Okay, let's go. But I don't think I will have enough block for this. So I might go to the mine again. Actually, I'm wondering. Where is it? Not that one. That's it. Wait a minute. Stone cutting. Yeah. Let's go sleep though. Did that just at my... Hold on a minute. Where's my replay mode? I have a marker, I think. It's M? Wait, M. No, it's no. Oh. Where is it? The shit? Where is it? What am I searching for? What the fuck? There it is. Wait a minute, guys. I need to do something. Anyway, sun cutter, huh? Where is that cobble? It won't connect. Kinda hate that. I guess it's not supported. I mean, it makes sense. Why would it? Why would it? Why would it? You know what I mean? Yeah, that's it. Anyway, I just remove this too. So I guess it's nice. I'm just waiting for it to update.